The video begins with a smiling young woman standing on a hotel balcony in Mexico. She is on her first trip outside of Canada. The trip is meant to celebrate her birthday. The resort is 5-star. Palm trees, white stone, infinity pools, and views to die for. This part of Mexico is marketed as safe, contained, and insulated from danger. Guests are told they will never need to leave the property. Everything they could want is already inside the gates. But just beyond those gates, the region operates under a different reality. Local businesses in this area are known to pay a cartel tax to operate. Control is enforced quietly, consistently, and with consequences. Life on one side of the fence compared to the other is a complete contradiction. How could something like this happen inside a place designed to feel untouchable? Who really has access to a resort that claims total security? And what happens when all hell breaks loose in a slice of vacation heaven? In this video, you will learn 7 things about this case that make it truly disturbing. By the way, this is Dark Case, and you can call me Jack. I bring you rare and unseen true crime cases, as well as other things that you may later regret knowing, with multiple uploads every single week. So if all of that sounds like your kind of thing, then make sure you join the Dark Case family now by hitting subscribe and turning all notifications on. And now for today's silly little question. What is the biggest change in technology that you have seen within your lifetime? Let me know down in the comments. Quick update in case you didn't know, the Dark Case Patreon is now no more. However, I have created some new tiers here on YouTube memberships, so there are some new perks including exclusive videos, as well as a behind the scenes podcast that I'm recording in my car in a cemetery. No, I'm not joking. But now, on with the video. Kiara Agnew was 23 years old. She lived in Dawson Creek, British Columbia. In early March of 2023, she travelled to Playa del Carmen with her boyfriend Ryan Friesen. The trip was planned to celebrate her upcoming 24th birthday. This was her first time leaving Canada. The couple checked into the Grand Sunset Princess Hotel, a resort that is large, gated. It is a 5-star property. It's one of those holiday destinations that is designed to keep guests inside the site for the duration of their stay, like a contained resort. Short videos sent to families show Kiara relaxed and excited, and in what would become her final video that she ever recorded, she is standing on the balcony of their hotel room.
We just got situated in our room, and we're gonna go get some food and then head to the beach.
But less than 12 hours after checking in, Kiara's time would have come to an end.
Kiara loved to travel. She has wanted to travel since she's been little, like so much that she made her mom get her passport so, they could travel together. That's something they were really looking forward to do. And this was a birthday trip, and Kiara planned it. She was really excited about it. We're going to the Maya Riviera to go snorkeling and see the Mayan ruins, visit the beaches, go shopping. It's a trip that she really was excited for.
On the night of March the 2nd, surveillance cameras captured Kiara and Ryan at the resort bar. They were drinking together inside the hotel. At approximately midnight, the cameras show them leaving the bar. This is the last confirmed footage of Kiara Agnew alive. What happened after they left that bar would later become one of the most disputed parts of this case. Because, from this point forwards, investigators would have to rely heavily on a single account. That account would come for the only other person with Kiara that night. And the question that follows is simple. If a resort is designed to be restricted and safe, if all of the security protocols in place, then why does so much of what happened next rely on just one person's version of events? At approximately 2:55 a.m., a resort cleaner arrived at the laundry room. The cleaner had previously worked at the hotel, and they were familiar with the area. Inside that room, the cleaner found Kiara Agnew and Ryan Friesen lying on the floor. They were positioned side by side. Ryan's feet were near Kiara's head. She was not moving, completely unresponsive. Kiara's time was officially pronounced ended at the scene. The cleaner reported that Kiara was fully clothed. One of her shoes, however, was on the floor nearby. The cleaner observed red DNA on the walls outside of the laundry room. He also observed red DNA on the surrounding floor. He described the area as showing signs of a struggle. The laundry room door was partially opened when he arrived. The cleaner stated that that door did not have a lock. As we know, Ryan was still in that room when the cleaner arrived, and they said that Ryan did appear to be intoxicated. He said that Ryan did not wake up immediately. He said that he had to shake him to wake him up. And then, strangely, after waking, the cleaner claims that Ryan attempted to run up the stairs. Other staff then restrained him until police arrived. From a procedural standpoint, this moment freezes the scene in time. Everything that investigators would later analyze had to be understood exactly as it appeared in these first minutes. Who arrived first? Was anything moved? Who saw what? In this case, though, investigators were left with a very narrow set of facts. Two people inside a laundry room that they should not have been in. One of them now no longer with us. How and why did this happen to Kiara?
It's beyond tragic. Everyone's kind of in disbelief, and what we want is justice for Kiara. We want her home. We want everything to come out. We want the truth to come out. We want whoever did this to be held accountable because it wasn't their choice to make. She wanted to live.
Family members have identified the victim as Kiara Agnew from Dawson Creek.
After leaving the resort bar, Ryan says that he and Kiara returned to their hotel room. He says that the two of them argued. However, he has not publicly detailed what that argument was actually about. There is no independent audio or video record of that conversation. Ryan says that after the argument, he then fell asleep. He says he then later woke up at approximately 2:30 a.m. and he says that when he woke, Kiara was no longer in their room. At that point, Ryan claims that he heard Kiara screaming. He says that the sound was coming from somewhere outside of the room. Ryan says that he followed the sound of the screams throughout the resort. He says that they led him towards a laundry room on the property. According to Ryan, the laundry room door was locked. He says that he beat on the door, and he says that someone inside eventually opened it. Ryan claims that Kiara was sitting on the floor when he entered. He claims that she had been disgustingly violated. He said that there were 3 to 4 other people in the room. This version of events was later shared by Kiara's stepfather, Ricky Matchett. When Ricky asked Ryan how he ended up on the floor next to Kiara, Ryan could not explain it. Ricky says that he asked that question 3 separate times. From the standpoint of the investigation going forwards, this really does matter because the timeline depends almost entirely on Ryan's account. There are no surveillance cameras in the hallways that show Ryan's path from his hotel room to the laundry room. There is no footage of anyone else entering or leaving the laundry room. So this leads investigators to ask a difficult question. If multiple attackers were involved, how did they enter and leave a gated resort without being seen? And if they were not seen, what does that say about access, timing, and opportunity within a place that is guaranteed to be safe? As police documented the scene, their report noted red DNA stains on Ryan Friesen's clothing. They also documented the same red DNA on his hands. This was as well as on his feet. A diagram included in the police report mapped visible injuries on Ryan's body. The diagram showed some lacerations on his right hand. It showed lacerations on his right foot. It also showed swelling on his left hand and a bite mark on his right hand. These observations were recorded before any later explanations were offered, and no matter what would happen going forward, this evidence would exist independently of any given statements. Injury documentation like this is a way to capture a person's condition before memory, alcohol, narrative, or defense can influence their interpretation. Strangely, there was no record of defensive injuries on Kiara, consistent with multiple attackers being identified at the scene by Ryan. There was also no physical evidence documented that clearly established the presence of other individuals in that laundry room. At this stage, investigators really had to work with only what could be confirmed. Who in front of them was injured? How were they injured? And did those injuries align with what had been claimed? This is where elements of timelines stop being theoretical, because this physical evidence is really pretty black and white. So, do the documented injuries support a single attacker, or do they require more than one, as Ryan said?
Mexican authorities have arrested a Canadian man after his girlfriend was found dead at a resort south of Cancun. The victim has been identified as 23-year-old Kiara Agnew from Dawson Creek, BC. Her family and friends have launched a GoFundMe campaign to bring her body back home. According to that page, her relatives were notified of her death on Friday. On the same day, Mexican police tweeted that a foreign national was being investigated for femicide. Prosecutors said the man was in custody and the case was being studied for possible charges.
Ryan Friesen was charged with femicide under Mexican law. This is the most serious domestic violence charge in the country. The case proceeded to a judge-only trial in the state of Quintana Roo. There was no jury. The verdict would rest entirely on the judge's interpretation of the available evidence. During the trial, DNA evidence will become central. A report showed that Ryan's DNA was not found under Kiara's fingernails. This same report identified one unknown male DNA profile. The judge accepted this finding as significant. The judge also accepted expert testimony, suggesting that the severity of Kiara's injuries did indicate more than one attacker. And so, in September of 2024, the judge delivered a not guilty verdict towards Ryan. This ruling, however, it did not identify who the other attackers actually were. It also didn't explain how they entered or exited the resort unseen. After the verdict, the DNA report was independently reviewed by forensic biologists. They confirmed that Ryan's DNA was not present under Kiara's fingernails. They also confirmed the presence of one unknown male profile. They added critical context. They stated that fingernail DNA does not prove guilt or innocence. They stated that foreign DNA can be picked up through ordinary daily contact. They stated that if a person is unable to fight, there may be no attacker DNA present at all. These clarifications introduced a problem. It seems that the DNA evidence only really explained some possibilities of what could have happened, but it did not resolve the central question of what actually happened in that room. Altogether, that means this case is not as finished as it appeared. After the not guilty verdict, Ryan Friesen offered a different explanation for Kiara's demise. He claimed that this attack was carried out by the cartel. According to Ryan, the resort actually owed money to the cartel and they refused to pay them. He claimed that Kiara was targeted as a warning. This claim introduced a new line of inquiry, because while cartels do operate in the region, their methods tend to follow recognizable patterns. To test this theory, W5 News travelled to Playa del Carmen. They met face-to-face with a long-standing member of the Sinaloa cartel. He was identified only as Alberto. Alberto confirmed that cartels do exert control in the area. He confirmed that local businesses are expected to pay a tax to them, and he confirmed that violence is used to enforce that control. But when he was asked directly about Kiara's death, Alberto rejected that claim. He said that cartels do not carry out executions inside resorts. He said that they do not target tourists inside private rooms. He explained that when cartels send messages, they are public. The whole idea is that they are meant to be seen. They are meant to spread fear. So a hidden killing inside a laundry room, this did not fit that pattern. So according to Alberto, cartel violence is not random. It is strategic. It is a tool. And when they use it, it's designed to be unmistakable. So investigators were now left with another contradiction, a theory that could have explained the level of violence, but not in this location, nor using this method. nor doing it in private. And this meant that the question shifted once again. If it was not a message sent from the cartel, if Ryan was found innocent, then who did this? Before Kiara ever arrived in Mexico, there was a record of what her relationship looked like in private. It actually existed in her own handwriting. During the trial, Kiara's sister testified that Kiara kept a journal. Entries in that journal described escalating violence within the relationship. In one entry, Kiara wrote about being hurt by Ryan whilst he was intoxicated. She described being struck repeatedly. She described begging him to stop. She wrote down that he passed out afterwards. She claimed that he did not remember what had happened the next day. She even said that he initially accused her of lying. She wrote that only visible swelling made him accept that it had actually occurred. Kiara's journal was powerful. It put evidence towards a pattern rather than just a one-off incident. Investigators can't look at journals as proof of a single event, at least not something like this retrospectively. Instead, they could look at this journal as insight into ongoing dynamics, into control and escalation. They could look at what happened behind closed doors when nobody else was present. The journal does not describe an unfamiliar person. It describes someone that Kiara knew better than anyone. It painted a picture of someone whose anger appeared suddenly, of someone whose behavior changed when alcohol became involved. This context can reshape how claims are later evaluated. The journal alone does not get to decide guilt, but it can limit what explanations remain plausible, because when DV has a documented history, new questions may have to be asked. So, was what happened in Mexico an unpredictable anomaly, or was it the final point in a pattern that had already been written down and documented? To really drive forward what was being shared in the privacy of her diary, here is an excerpt from it. 2 mornings ago, Ryan hurt me in a way I never thought he would. He came around to my side of the bed, grabbed my hair hard, and smacked me hard on the right side of my face. I begged him to stop, but he just kept getting angrier and kept smacking me in the face hard. He then mocked my crying and stated that no one feels bad for me. He went to his side and passed out. I left after he fell asleep. The next day, he didn't even remember it. When I told him, he thought I was lying. Then he saw my swollen face at the end of the day, and he knew I wasn't. He can be so heartless at the drop of a hat, it's scary. He scares me. If I am ever missing or found dead, you know who did it. You know it was him, and you can't let him get away with it.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. And we begin with breaking news tonight in the case of a Dawson Creek woman murdered in Mexico. Kiara Agnew's boyfriend is now guilty in connection to the 23-year-old's death. After a review of the case by a Mexican magistrate, Ryan Friesen's not guilty ruling has been overturned. Kiara was at a 5-star resort in Playa del Carmen nearly 3 years ago. Friesen was charged in her killing but was found not guilty by a Mexican judge. Ryan was found asleep beside her body in a resort laundry room with swollen fists, bruises, and covered in blood. Global Affairs Canada has reached out to Kiara's family, telling them that Friesen is now considered guilty. When asked about Kiara's murder, the state deputy prosecutor responded that she believed it was established beyond a reasonable doubt that the crime was committed by Ryan.
After the not guilty verdict, Mexican prosecutors appealed a decision. An independent magistrate was assigned to review the judge's reasoning. In December of 2025, that magistrate overturned the acquittal. The ruling declared that the original verdict could not stand. Ryan Friesen filed an amparo appeal. Under Mexican law, this appeal is reviewed by a panel of 3 federal judges. While the appeal proceeds, Ryan remains in Canada. If the appeal fails, he faces up to 50 years in prison in Mexico. This reignited a public response. Protests were organized across Canada. Some had already been ongoing since the original acquittal. Petitions were launched demanding that the conviction be enforced. Another petition called for new legislation, referred to as Kiara's Law. The proposal would require mandatory Canadian forensic autopsies in suspicious deaths costs abroad. It would expand consular services for families. It would seek Canadian jurisdiction in cases involving Canadian-on-Canadian violence overseas. At the centre of all of this, though, is one fixed reality. Kiara did not come home from her birthday trip, from her first vacation in the sun. Be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.